Where to begin, man? At the time of this recording, I had just found out that Connor Murphy died. If you clicked on this video, you probably know who Connor Murphy is. But in case you don't, Connor Murphy was a very popular gym and fitness influencer around 10 years ago. But the last 5 years of his life can be called nothing but a tragic downfall, which eventually led to his death, and we'll get into that a bit later in the video. But I guess I should start by saying, why am I making this video? I did not know Connor Murphy, but he is someone who inspired millions, including myself, to go to the gym, to get bigger, to get stronger, and to improve yourself. The first ever Connor Murphy video I saw, the video is essentially him holding up a sign that says free hugs, and he's dressed with clothes on, kind of dressed like a nerd or a normal guy. And nobody's really coming up to him and giving him free hugs. He's kind of just standing there with the sign up, looking awkward, but then he takes off his shirt. And I mean, this guy in his prime had the best physique maybe ever. And now all of a sudden he's still holding up the free hug sign, but girls are swarming him, right? Girls are coming up, taking pictures with him. Groups of girls are coming up to him and like thirsting over him and lusting over him, and they're touching him. And I mean, it was just absolutely crazy to see. And the whole point of the video and a lot of these prank videos that he did was that essentially women do care about your physique. And so I'm sitting there watching this video. I think I was going into high school at the time. And I remember watching that video and being like, damn, I think I should hit the gym. And so then I did, right? I started working out after that video inspired me, and I watched a few of his other videos, but I was like, yeah, I want to be like that. I want to be big and strong. And at the time I was a tall, skinny kid, and it was an absolute war for me to try and build muscle. But that video was kind of the first inspiration of me getting into kind of the gym culture stuff. And obviously a lot of comments on the video were like, oh, this guy's such a douchebag. Oh, he's just taking off his shirt. All these videos are him just taking off his shirt. And honestly, like, who cares? There's always going to be haters out there. You can't listen to the haters. Haters are going to hate no matter what. But what I loved about the OG fitness influencers is that they didn't care about the haters. Like Z's and Connor Murphy, they both were all about excessive confidence. And that confidence came from them having a top tier physique. I always loved that one quote from Z's saying, I would rather be hated on than be the person doing the hating. And it's important to bring that up because both Z's and Connor Murphy, to me at least, were like the OG fitness influencers that inspired me and millions of others. And I guess ironically, they both have a very similar tragic downfall, and they both end up dying in Thailand, which is pretty crazy, very sad. But I think I maybe have a good idea for why this happens to guys like Connor Murphy and Z's. I think I understand why these guys who reach the absolute top and from the outside seemingly have everything. And I'll get into that later in the video, but I think these stories need to be seen as a cautionary tale and a warning against drug use. So to start, Connor Murphy around 10 years ago was pretty much the #1 fitness influencer in the world. And I mean, prime Connor Murphy to me had the best physique ever. And part of that is we're similar height. And it's hard for me to kind of find somebody who has that same build as me, but then blows up and is so strong. And so I'm sitting there as like a taller, skinny kid saying, oh, okay, I actually can achieve that at this height. But Connor Murphy at this time was seemingly at the top of the world. He was at the top of the fitness industry. He was famous, making loads of money. He had all the girls, and he was pretty much untouchable. Connor Murphy completely achieved the dream that every guy who's ever walked into the gym has. So what happened? Well, this is where his story starts to get sad. Well, somewhere along the way, he dabbled with drugs, right? He started getting into drugs, and he came across a drug called ayahuasca, which many people try, and many people have positive experiences, like an Aaron Rodgers. People say that it changes your brain, it changes the way you think, and people usually get something positive out of that, right? They have some problem in their life, they go and take ayahuasca, and now they see things clearly. They have this elevated sense of consciousness. These are the stories you hear from people that have positive experiences. But the problem is, and people really need to understand this, is not everybody has a positive experience from it. Yes, it changes your brain. Yes, it changes the way you think, but that doesn't mean it's going to be for the better. You could go in and have a great experience and come out with this new profound idea of life, but you could also go in and have a terrible experience and completely rewire your own brain and become unrecognizable from the person that you were once before. You can lose yourself entirely. And I don't know why it affects some people in a positive way and it affects others in a negative way. But anybody that has any interest in doing something like that, you need to be careful. because it can destroy your life and it could make your life better. Is that worth the risk? Well, that's up to you, but I think this right here, the Connor Murphy story, is very much a cautionary tale against this particular drug and other drugs, as we'll get into. And so after Connor Murphy tried ayahuasca and he continued to try more and more drugs, he started to lose his mind. And so roughly 5 years ago, that's when all this started to come out. People were saying Connor Murphy has lost his mind. Connor Murphy needs to go to rehab. And then he just disappeared from the internet. And I think why this is so sad to me is that he was clearly no longer the same person that he once was. And maybe it was impossible for him to ever return to that same confident fitness influencer that so many of us looked up to. So then a few years go by and he reappeared on the internet around 2 years ago. He was very different. He was not the same Connor Murphy that I grew up watching, and a lot of it was very sad and very hard to watch. He started getting into all the looks maxing stuff, but he took it way too far, and a lot of the content seemed nuts, for lack of a better word. Now, I wanted so badly to see Connor Murphy have this legendary comeback and return to his prime. So in my mind, I'm kind of thinking, oh, this content he's trying out is just parody, right? It's him just trying his hand at comedic satire content. I'm thinking, oh, he has some grand plan that he's doing all of this for, and he's going to return to his prime. But I think I just still wanted to see that good in him, because it's so difficult for me to criticize or talk negatively about somebody who has had such a positive impact on me and so many others, which is why it's kind of hard for me to even make this video. But without knowing him, I think objectively, he lost his mind along the way from drug use. Make no mistake, drugs destroyed this man, and nothing good comes from drugs. So finally we get to his death, which recently happened. And I think the best way to understand what really happened is from his friend Androgenic, who said this, and quote, referring to Connor Murphy, he started to get this fixation on gold. He started to believe that gold was some gate-kept mineral by the higher-ups that basically gives you special powers if you ingest it. A few weeks later, he started the experiment. He was injecting gold. He was just crazy. He was covered in discoloration from gold poisoning. He ended up covered in his own blood, running around his neighborhood screaming, and then the police were called. And then the police chased him down. He ran into the lake, tried to escape, and we know what happened. Rest in peace. And then he continues, he says, I always had this thought that Connor Murphy is so deeply misunderstood, but it is so unfortunate that I so desperately wanted him to be vindicated. I wanted Connor Murphy to completely vindicate himself and for people to realize, wait, this guy is onto something. This guy's actually a smart guy who actually does know how to live better than the average guy does. I miss him deeply, and I wish he didn't do that, obviously. At the end of the day, I fucking love Connor, and I hope he's living in some blissful afterlife. So there's a lot to unpack there. Obviously, on the surface, the story is nuts, right? He's trying to inject himself with gold, but I don't know, man. It just breaks my heart because there's a time where this guy was at the peak of life. He was in his prime, and he seemingly could not be stopped. And now this is the story you read about how he died, right? He's injecting himself with gold. He's running away from the cops into the water in Thailand and then ends up drowning. It's not obviously the way that anybody would want to go out. And I think, judging by the story, obviously I don't know him personally, but it does seem like he lost his mind. And it's just very sad to see somebody at the very tippy top have such a hard fall from grace and just have it all end without having the opportunity for redemption. Like his friend says, right? He wanted him so badly to be vindicated. And myself, and I think many others, wanted so badly for Connor Murphy to get that comeback that we were all hoping for. A similar kind of path happened with Z's, who, again, Z's and Connor Murphy were like the OG fitness icons back in the day. And why did this happen to both of them? Why did these two guys turn to drugs? And why did they end up really destroying their own lives when it seemed like from the outside that they had everything going for them, that they had these perfect lives? And this is really the point of the video, because we have to learn something from this. We have to view this as a cautionary tale, and in a weird way, by these guys who once inspired us. And truthfully, I think the answer is actually very simple. Both Aziz and Connor Murphy were once skinny, normal guys who aspired to be great. They felt an emptiness in their lives in a way that all of us feel. but they went to extreme and extraordinary measures to get the life that they wanted. And we can all relate to this. We might think, wow, if I just had this amount of money, wow, if I just had that physique, then finally I would be happy. Then finally I would have this perfect life. But when these guys actually achieved those things, they weren't happy. They didn't have the perfect life. And they still had problems. And I think what they found is that that emptiness inside of them was still there. So imagine you're a person and you recognize this huge problem. And that problem is, well, I don't like my current life. And you think of some extreme solution to fix this problem, right? And you pursue it with everything you have to become rich, famous, to get your dream physique. And when you finally achieve all of these things, you realize that the problem is still there. You still don't like your life. You're still unhappy. Well, that would be very disheartening because now it's like, well, I went out and I did everything I sought out to do. And I actually achieved all these crazy, amazing things, but I'm still unhappy. And I think that pushes people to then find other coping mechanisms, which then leads them to drugs. Because if there's nothing I can do, if there's nothing I can achieve to find this happiness, well, I have to find some other way. I have to cope some other way. And that path does lead to drugs. And it leads to overusing drugs. And now, again, I don't know Connor Murphy personally, but I imagine this is kind of how the path of destruction went. And this is a very important lesson. And make sure you pursue something meaningful simply because it is meaningful. And you don't attach unrealistic expectations of happiness or anything else to these pursuits, because you will be disappointed in the end. And happiness is not a good goal to strive for, because happiness is an emotion and therefore it is fleeting. It can't be achieved. But I want to end this video on a positive note. Z's and Connor Murphy stood for the positive side of fitness and masculinity. At the end of the day, it was a positive message. It was, we're all gonna make it, brah. Where now modern guys push the black pill message that says, it's over for you. And ultimately, it's a nihilistic message. And here's the thing, the black pill is more realistic. And unfortunately, there are certain genetic advantages that some people have and that others don't. But anyone who strives to better themselves will make it regardless of anything else. If you embrace the black pill, one thing is guaranteed. It is over for you. But if we all strive to better ourselves, then yeah, we're all gonna make it, brah. So RIP Connor Murphy, you inspired me and so many others to hit the gym, get in shape, and better ourselves. And this is a reminder to me that I haven't been very consistent in the gym lately. I haven't been working as hard as I could. And this is a reminder that I need to be better. And I intend to fix this. And I encourage everyone else to do the same. Let Connor Murphy inspire all of us one last time. If you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe. And don't forget to drop a comment below to enter the $50 giveaway if you're subscribed. Thank you.